Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Erik Stabnau, who's the music director of the Glenn Miller Orchestra, appearing June 12th at the Coralville Center for the Performing Arts. Erik, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Where am I talking to you from?
I'm in Rochester right now, Rochester, New York. That's my hometown. That's where I live. So we're on a little break right now, and we're about to start this next tour. Um, Actually, in about a day, I'm going to fly out tomorrow to St. Louis, Missouri, and then we have our first show on Thursday in Springfield, Missouri.
And of course, making the stop in Coralville in a week or so. How long have you been with the band, Erik?
Yeah, I've been with the band for 8 years now. I joined in June of 2017, and I became music director about 4 years ago in the summer of 2021.
What's your musical background?
Yeah, I grew up playing the saxophone. That was my first instrument, saxophone. And I went on to study music throughout grade school and into college as well. So I attended the Eastman School of Music, which is in Rochester, New York, where I grew up, and had a great experience there. I always liked jazz music and big band music and music of this era. Um, so sometime later, I discovered that the Glenn Miller Orchestra was still touring, and I sent in an audition and everything. And within a few weeks, I heard back from them. And a few weeks after that, I was on tour with the group. So once again, that was in the summer of 2017, and I'm still with the group all these years later.
Little pandemic pause in the middle there.
Yep.
But when did you realize or think or decide that you wanted to go from just playing in the band to going for the position of musical director?
Yeah, over the pandemic, you're right. There was some time off the road, at least a full year without anything, and things got started slowly after that. So there was some turnover at that time in the personnel in the band, and that's when I stepped into the music director role. So kind of coming back from the pandemic is when I started with that, and it's been a great experience. It's been a great challenge, and just a lot of fun to have the opportunity to play this music every night.
Is the lineup of the band pretty consistent? Do you have, one set of players, or do you have people kind of moving in and out? I'm sure your sub list is extensive and very highly qualified.
We do have an extensive sub list. That's correct. However, the group that performs each and every show really stays the same for each and every show, and we have members rotate in, like year in and year out. I mean, some members have been on the band for many years, like myself, or even more. And of course, there's always new members coming in and out. But the average musician probably stays in the band for a year or maybe more, maybe a year to 2 years, and that gives you a chance to kind of see the country and tour around the country with the band. So it is the same group of musicians night after night after night. It's not necessarily a regional group or a local group, which is really an advantage for this band because we have a chance to play together all the time. We really just kind of fit in well.
I have some friends here in Iowa who have done stints with
Yeah.
the Glenn Miller Orchestra periodically, but the musicianship always, of course, top notch. But I have to ask, and I'm sure you get asked this every time you talk about a concert. How do you keep it fresh?
There is a challenge, I think, in playing the same music night after night. There's also benefits in playing the same music night after night. I think everyone in the band is aware that this music, is not only popular but is also significant music to a lot of people. And of course, every time the audience sees the band, it's their first time or their one moment to kind of experience this music live. So I think everyone in the band is able to acknowledge that. And we enjoy this music just as much as the audience does. So we like playing it. And for all those reasons, I don't necessarily get a sense that, we grow weary of this stuff over time. I think every show is exciting for the band and exciting for the audience too. And of course, when you have a great response to a song like Moonlight Serenade or In the Mood or Chattanooga Choo Choo, it doesn't matter how many times you've played it, it's still fun to see the audience respond that way.
Sometimes people lump big band music into one category, but for our listenership, we're a jazz radio station here based in Eastern Iowa, Erik. The people who know the music can usually tell when a chart starts. Oh, well, there's Basie. Oh,
Mhm.
there's Ellington. And Glenn Miller, of course, is exactly the same. I was doing a deep dive into your website, reading about different things about the music and about how Glenn got the band started. And as a sax player, that was one of the big things that Glenn Miller did when he first started his orchestra was he did the reeds a little bit differently than other bands had done up to that point.
Yeah, that's right. He had a unique way of voicing the melodies, and these are great melodies in this era of music and the big band era and the swing era. And Glenn had a different way of presenting the melodies with a clarinet on top and the rest of the saxophone section harmonizing underneath. So that was one of the things that was iconic of his band that sort of defined the Glenn Miller sound versus some of these other bands that you had mentioned of the big band era. Every band kind of has its own personality, and yeah, the reed section in the melodies is certainly one of the things that Glenn is known for, along with certain sounds from the brass section and the trombones and that kind of thing.
Which is funny because, he's a trombone player, yet he was a real pioneer in how to arrange the reed section.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Other band leaders like Tommy Dorsey, for instance, is a trombonist. He would play a lot of the melodies in that music in that band. Glenn did play some of the melodies for his orchestra, but the spotlight wasn't as much on him as a musician as he put it on the band.
Vocals are always a big part of this show as well. Who is your singer these days?
We've got a couple singers. I do some of the singing, the male vocal book, and we've got a fabulous singer named Jenny Swoish, and she sings female vocals. And there's a lot of great vocals in the Glenn Miller songbook. Just some really fun music and some beautiful ballads and everything in between. So her and I do the bulk of that. We also have a vocal group from members of the orchestra singing backup harmonies. So that's myself and Jenny and a few members of the band. We call them the Moonlight Serenaders. And that group is modeled after Glenn Miller's vocal group in the 1940s. They were called the Modernaires, and they were a big hit. They sang songs like Chattanooga Choo Choo and I Got a Gal in Kalamazoo and a ton of great music. So there's quite a bit of variety in the vocals.
How much time do you spend on the road? Kind of a summer thing, or do you tour off and on all year long?
Yeah, it's all year long, and it's usually not too much time off and a lot of time on. And it's been like that for years and years and years and decades actually on the band. So a typical year at this stage sometimes includes like around 200 shows or even more in some cases. And
Wow.
really, it's a full-time thing. The band will usually go on tour for a couple months at a time, and then we'll have a few weeks off. Then we're on tour for a couple months at a time. Then we have a few weeks off. So that's a usual year for the band. It was like that last year. It's like that this year. It'll be like that next year. And that's how the band has toured now for decades and decades. So it's probably the last full-time touring big band like this.
I did notice too that there are a couple of licensed Glenn Miller orchestras in the UK and Europe. Do you ever have any connections with those organizations?
We typically don't in our group. I have met some of the musicians and band leaders from the European groups. We don't really have much interaction. That's kind of handled by, there's a home office that operates our band from Orlando, Florida, and they have dealings with those folks, but we don't really cross paths.
Well, there is an ocean in the way and all of that. And where Glenn Miller's concerned, we don't want to talk about oceans very
That's right.
much.
That's right.
The Glenn Miller Orchestra will be at the Coralville Center for the Performing Arts on June 12th, and we're getting you toward the beginning of your summer tour.
That's right. Yes, this will be, I think, within the first week of our summer tour, which is good. We'll be plenty energetic and excited to be there. And this is a venue that the band has played almost annually, I think, since I joined the group. It's a really nice fit for the band. It's an intimate venue, so you get a good view. The sound is nice. We're used to it. We enjoy playing there. So it's always been a good experience.
Yeah, it's a great room. It's not huge, but the auditorium is raked so that every seat is a great one. And
Yes.
you really feel like you really are getting up close and personal with the band in a way that you don't always in some other venues. Well, I have seen the band periodically at some of these concerts over the years. I always enjoy it. I do love how this music is being kept alive by your organization and your orchestra and keeping it fresh, because even though these arrangements have been around for a while, every concert is, as you said, somebody's first time to hear the Glenn Miller music.
It really is, yeah, and it's amazing that the music is still known, still recognized, over 80 years later in some cases, for some of these songs, and it's just an amazing legacy for the group. It's fabulous music and something that we certainly don't take for granted.
Erik, thanks so much for being with us today. Travel safely, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the 12th at the Coralville Center for the Performing Arts. You can get tickets at coralvillearts.org. Erik, thanks for being with me.
Thanks a bunch, appreciate it.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most weekdays at 10:30, on demand at kcck.org/culture, or subscribe using your favorite podcast player. Watch our videos on the KCCK Facebook and YouTube channels. Our producer is Lydia Kilgore. The Culture Crawl theme is composed by Vivian Shanley. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.